Hail Marys. I knew them all. I was an altar boy. You know, I was a good kid, but I was a total idiot. We moved from there to Dart Street, another opportunity. And then from there, we bought a home with my aunt on Hardy and Quitman, the bloody Fifth Ward. Anyway, so from there I went to Sherman, and from there I went to Marshall, and then Jeff Davis. At Sherman was a great school. And you have to visualize that my parents always told me, never be prejudiced. Don't worry about what people say or do. You just do what's right and continue with the weak, and you'll see. And that's what I have done all my life. My mother was instrumental in that. But my dad was such a you know, when you have brothers and you have other people, I had nobody. Nada, no one. And so when I was in elementary, to tell you how tough, my first girlfriend went to reform school. Does that tell you the clientele we had? So anyway, that's another story, but that's the truth. That is the truth. Bless her heart. And she could play the piano and everything. How she got anyway. So from and the sixth grade teacher was super. She really worked to get us ready to go to Marshall. And you have to realize, now we're talking about, you know, in the 40s and stuff. You have to realize that the Hispanics were looked at like, if you make it through Marshall, probably never make it to Jeff Davis. Our choices were jail or army. That was our choices. And so, how in the world would you even think of going to finish school and go to college? No way. But that was what my parents instilled in me from day one. You have to go to school. You have to go to school. You don't get out and go. I worked every single day of my life. My first work was when I was about 5 at my aunt's grocery store in Sinton. And from that day on, how many of y'all had a paper route? How many of you threw the press and the Houston Post at the same time? I did for many years. My dad would get up at 5 o'clock, and how much I got? 10 minutes. Okay. My dad would get up and help me roll the papers, and I would throw the press route in the afternoon and the post route in the morning, every morning. Then I'd go to school. Oh, anyway, so we go from there. Now, at Jeff Davis, again, well, let me tell you a little bit about Marshall, because I actually made a straight A card. Wow. Yeah, utterly. I made 3 B's in the 7th grade. But I also led her in track in the 7th grade, and that sort of got caught up. So my A's went to making pass, but I failed algebra, and they said, Pete, if you never take algebra again, we'll pass you. I said, yeah, man, go. But of course, I said, I have to go to college. So I took algebra again at Jeff Davis, and I failed it. And I took it again, and I passed it. That was the only course that I failed in at Jeff Davis. I tell you that because that's an important step of saying okay and then not doing what's okay. When I was at Davis, I lettered in football and track, Marshall, I was 5'10" in the 9th grade. I was a center in the basketball team. Man, I thought I was really something. I'm going to be 6'2". You know, back then 6'2" would have been a giant, you know. So if I stand real straight, I'm maybe 6, maybe, you know.
Especially a Hispanic.
Yeah, exactly. I was the first to graduate from high school, the first to graduate from college, and the first to get a master's in college. So I felt very blessed in all of the things that we've done. But at Davis, my best friend, a very smart man, but if you challenged him, he would, you know, he's a tough guy. He and another guy robbed a liquor store on Main Street, North Main. And I remember that the other guy went to jail, but he didn't. He was still in school. And I thought, that's interesting. So one day we're going down Main Street, and these guys flipped their knives. You know good. I thought, what have I done? I ain't done anything. And he said, no, I didn't, you know, And so they let him go. They bought whatever he was buying or selling. But what had happened, the officers that got him on that robbery turned him as an informant. My senior year at Jeff Davis, there was a number of boys that were sent to jail for dope. Now this is in the 50s.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So he said, Pete, don't stay away from me. It will get worse before it gets better. So please stay away from me. And so I did. Now, again, you know, the good Lord takes care of you. We graduated from Davis, but I got to tell you another thing about Davis. My senior year, remember I told you in the 3rd grade I was an idiot because I didn't know where I lived? Well, it caught up with me because I was too old to play football. I made the baseball team, football team, and the track team. I was a very good running broad jumper. Y'all know what that is? Jump. So my senior year, I can't play. And he said, Pete, run for cheerleader. I said, man, cheerleaders, they're kind of squirrely. He said, no. Wait. One of them had been playing football, hurt his shoulder, couldn't play. The other guy was okay. And of course, 3 girls were good looking and everything. And I said, man. He said, jail or army? I said, man, I don't want any of those. I'm going to college. He said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'll run for cheerleader. Many years later, I learned that I had the most votes of anyone in that election. Of course, no one told me that. And so what I would do is, I couldn't even skip. But, you know, I would line them up, then I'd jump over. And that was my big, he can jump. Well, of course I could jump. I could jump real good, you know. So that was my big thing. From there, I went to University of Houston. I worked all the time. I could not even accept Mr. Patterson, track coach at University of Houston, offered me a chance to get a scholarship, but I couldn't afford it. I had to work. One of my big things was I had $25 and I needed $200. And back then they had shut down Galveston and everything, but if you knew where to go, you could still roll the dice. I rolled the dice 2 times, got my $200, got out and never went back. Never enrolled another time again.